Welcome to your week in review here on WINN FM 98.9 for the period February 10th through 15th. Making the news last week, St. Kitts Nevis embarks on e-government transformation with Cybernetica partnership.
Kim Collins Athletics Stadium rehabilitation project on road to completion.
OECS Energy Ministers tour ECCB's solar canopy project, aim for regional renewable energy transformation.
Dr. Patricia Bartlett highlights a habitual trend of the CCM with revenue sharing.
St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister continues to prioritize energy independence with geothermal project. St. Kitts and Nevis invests in vocational training for sustainable future. Dr. Patricia Bartlett calls for study on dangerous driving amid rising road fatalities.
Joseph and France multi-specialty hospital to revolutionize healthcare delivery.
Now, the details. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis has solidified its commitment to digital innovation through a strategic partnership with Cybernetica, a move that will significantly advance the nation's e-government capabilities. The collaboration underscores the government's dedication to modernizing its infrastructure and enhancing citizen access to essential services through digital platforms. The initiative aligns with a broader national strategy to foster economic growth and improve governmental efficiency. The Honorable Conress Maynard, Minister of ICT and Post, expressed enthusiasm for the new alliance and its potential to accelerate St. Kitts and Nevis's digital evolution.
As you would know, St. Kitts Nevis government has endeavored to pursue a whole of country digital transformation agenda, following on from consultancies that have been done in the past, analysis that has been done, and a whole of government strategy, which led us to the establishment of the Digital Transformation Management Unit.
Minister Maynard highlighted the government's proactive approach to digital reform. This comprehensive strategy builds upon previous assessments and consultations, demonstrating a structured and informed approach to implementing digital solutions. The Digital Transformation Management Unit, DTMU, led by Nigel Carty, will be pivotal in guiding the nation's digital journey. Minister Maynard emphasized Carty's expertise, noting
that is led by His Excellency Nigel Carty, who is a former Minister of ICT. So he is well versed and also an expert as well in the technology field, and we're very glad to have his expertise to help lead this mission. So he was Minister of ICT during his time in government, somewhere between 2004 and 2015, when he was a Minister of Government. And so he's leading the DTMU.
Carty's extensive background in ICT and government affairs makes him a key figure in ensuring the success of this transformative initiative. The establishment of the DTMU signifies the government's unwavering commitment to prioritizing digital transformation as a cornerstone of its national development agenda. The dedicated unit will oversee the implementation of various digital projects and initiatives, ensuring alignment with the overall strategic objectives. By centralizing digital efforts under the DTMU, the government aims to streamline processes, improve coordination, and maximize the impact of its digital investments. Minister Maynard further articulated the government's vision for the future, emphasizing the crucial role of digital transformation in enhancing economic prosperity and citizen empowerment.
So that creation of that unit signals the deliberate intention of the government to focus squarely on digital transformation. We see it not as just something that is nice to do or looks good, but essential for our economic well-being in the future, to make our government more efficient and make our services more accessible to our citizens and residents.
The partnership with Cybernetica and the establishment of the DTMU represents significant strides towards realizing this vision, promising a more digitally connected and prosperous St. Kitts and Nevis.
The rehabilitation of the Kim Collins Athletics Stadium in Bird Rock, St. Kitts is underway, managed by the Public Works Department for the Ministry of Sports. The redevelopment includes a brand new synthetic track and stadium rehabilitation to address the wear and tear concerns there. During the sports season of 2024, events that would usually be held at the Kim Collins Athletics Stadium were forced to be held at temporary locations across the Federation. In particular, the Ministries of Sports in St. Kitts and Sister Island Nevis successfully negotiated to allow for training and competitions at the Nevis Athletics Stadium so that events could be held and, more importantly, national athletes could achieve qualifying times at home for both the Olympic Games and Carifta. Speaking about the project, Minister responsible for infrastructure Conris Maynard said the renovations, quote, represents a significant investment in the future of sports in our federation. I look forward to seeing how these improvements will elevate athletics, inspire our athletes, and enhance the overall sporting experience in St. Kitts and Nevis, unquote. On November 29, 2024, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Sports, Valencia Sider, confirmed the work being undertaken at the stadium, thus anticipating a completion time of the end of February 2025. She said land work in the spot where the track would be placed had already begun, whilst the paving and the laying of asphalt was set to begin a week later. The arrival date for the track itself was December 11, 2024, with the installation scheduled for mid-January 2025. Callers to radio programs, some commenters on social media, and sports enthusiasts in recent years expressed concerns that the stadium, which bears the name of the Federation's most successful track and field athlete, had fallen into disrepair. There were several demands for the facility to be repaired. Ms. Sider, speaking at the November 29, 2024 press conference, said she understood the anxiety and assured the public that the facility has been a priority for the Ministry of Sports.
I understand the frustration and the anxiety as it relates to the stadium, but we have the same anxiety and we have the same frustration, but we also support our athletes. We support our athletes across all disciplines, and it wasn't that we were just sitting on our hands and not doing nothing for the stadium. There was lots of work being done in the background, a lot of preparatory work, because it's not a simple, putting on the track is not a simple thing. It takes lots of planning. There were a lot of unforeseen things that popped up, so we had to make sure all the preparatory work was done properly before we begin with the major work. So everything is on track and the athletes will have back their home in short order.
After the renovation, the Kim Collins Athletics Stadium will be repositioned as a venue for St. Kitts to host regional meets again.
The International Monetary Fund is keeping a close watch on the ongoing global trade tensions and their potential economic impact. Since U.S. President Donald Trump announced tariffs on close allies, including Mexico and Canada as well as China, concerns have risen about possible inflationary pressures and supply chain disruptions. Now, Trump has hinted at extending tariffs to the United Kingdom and the European Union, raising further concerns about global trade stability. During a recent press conference in Washington, D.C., IMF's Communications Director Judy Kozak emphasized that the fund is actively monitoring the situation and hopes for a constructive resolution.
So what I can say on this issue is we're obviously following the announcements by the U.S. with respect to tariffs on Chinese goods and potentially Canadian and Mexican goods. We're following these announcements. We believe that it's in the interest of all to find a constructive way forward to resolve this issue.
President Trump signed an executive order imposing a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and a 10% tariff on Canadian energy supplies. China faces a 10% tariff, while Mexico will be subjected to a 25% tariff. In response, affected countries have announced their own retaliatory measures. However, Trump has temporarily paused the tariffs, a move that was quickly mirrored by Canada and Mexico.
With respect to the assessment, assessing the full impact of these measures of tariffs, it's actually going to depend on several factors, and let me lay those out. The first is, one of those factors is going to be the responses of the countries concerned. Another factor will be how firms and consumers react. And finally, it will how the measures evolve over time will also have an impact. So at this stage, we will, of course, have more information over time and in due course as the situation evolves.
Small island nations, particularly in the Caribbean, are closely monitoring these developments. Many of these countries rely heavily on imports from the United States. Essentially, an import tax could lead to higher prices for food and other essential goods across the region. Accountant Schneidman Warner, speaking recently on WINN FM's Inside the News, discussed the potential impact of tariffs on residents of St. Kitts and Nevis.
A tariff is a tax imposed by a country on the movement of goods in or out of the country, so that when you import something from another country, let's say import something from Barbados or import something from United Kingdom, when it arrives in the country, the price of the item is $100. The importing country imposes a tariff. In St. Kitts and Nevis and most of the world, we call it duty, customs duty. And that tax which they imposed on the goods coming in is called a tariff. You also have tariffs going the other way. Sometimes for other reasons, a country would say, when you export certain goods, you have to pay a tariff. And one of the reasons for doing this is, let's say, to discourage you exporting things and that you would rather keep in the country. So it's a way to discourage people.
While the tariffs are currently on hold, regional leaders are paying close attention and are expected to address the issue at the upcoming CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Bridgetown, Barbados.
Propose tarifications that they're hyperboles, because if indeed the United States were to introduce tariffs in any significant way on a broad variety of goods, clearly it will impact significantly in growth and development within the Caribbean region.
Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown. Meanwhile, in a Truth social media post on Thursday morning, Trump wrote, quote, "Today is the big one, reciprocal tariffs," end quote. Professor and Money Matters host Dr. Terence Martin recently provided insights to WINN FM, explaining that the tourism, manufacturing and agriculture sectors in the Caribbean could all feel the effects of these trade measures.
If we are to look at inflation specifically, inflation has been trending downward, and it would also be downward in St. Kitts and Nevis because our currency is pegged to the US dollar. I know it doesn't feel like that when you go to the grocery store, but if we were to focus or adhere and anchor on what the reports out to ECCB, inflation has been trending down. We expect increased import costs from U.S. distributors who would likely raise prices of goods in the Federation, particularly consumer electronics, appliances, vehicles, construction materials. If local businesses pass on higher costs to consumers, the Federation could see inflationary pressure rise in the medium term. I actually even dare say in the short term, because we've seen how that whenever we see this sort of inflationary pressure in the global markets, they tend to be almost passed on immediately, right? Just because of commodity pricing in some cases. Think about like oil. And then if we were to consider that if the U.S. were to flood the Caribbean markets with surplus agricultural products due to lost exports to Mexico, Canada, China, food price inflation might remain stable or even decline. So you have both sides of the coin, right? Where inflation could either go up or down depending on really what tends to happen.
In a significant step toward regional stability, energy ministers from across the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, convened for their third council meeting on February 4th and 5th in St. Kitts and Nevis. A key highlight of the gathering was a tour of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank's ECCB award-winning Solar Canopy project, which gave ministers a first-hand look at a successful renewable energy implementation. The ministers reviewed ambitious targets, notably aiming for achieving 30% renewable energy penetration across the OECS by 2030, as stated during the meeting. Valda Henry, Deputy Governor of the ECCB, emphasized the situation's urgency.
It is indeed an opportune time that you are meeting as energy ministers and the technical teams under the theme Sustainable Energy, creating opportunities for reinventing the economy of the OECS. We know that our economies are in fact in dire need of transformation so that we can advance the good of the people of the region.
The ECCB Solar Canopy Project received the 2022 Central Bank Greening Award and was an exemplary model for the visiting officials. Wayne Myers, project specialist at the ECCB's Support Services Management Department, detailed the phased approach of the Green of Campus project.
The Green of the Campus project, we have broken into 3 phases. We have first phase is the generation of electricity from a renewable source. Second is reduction in consumption by investing in energy efficient products.
He highlighted the comprehensive retrofitting of the bank's infrastructure, including replacing compact fluorescent lamps (CFL) lights with LEDs and upgrading air conditioning systems to more efficient models. Myers noted the project included installing solar canopies, running the system for a year to collect data, and then adding battery storage to optimize energy usage. The Honorable Benava Brown, Energy Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, expressed her satisfaction with the project.
I'm happy to see this level of development within our region, and the bank that decided that they wanted to become carbon neutral and them taking the steps to implement this project. St. Vincent and the Grenadines were committed to transitioning towards renewable energies. We are a volcanic island, and we have done investigations into the possibility of geothermal. We have also invested into solar infrastructure, and we hope to expand the level of infrastructure in terms of solar and the penetration of solar PV within St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We also have hydroelectricity, and that
She outlined St. Vincent and the Grenadines' commitment to renewable energy, mentioning investigations into geothermal potential, investment in solar infrastructure, and the existing contribution of hydroelectricity, which
contributes significantly to our renewable energy. Hydro contributes about 15% towards our energy mix.
This regional perspective underscores a unified effort toward diversified energy sources. The Honorable Veronica Dorset Hector, Infrastructure Minister of Montserrat, lauded the ECCB's leadership.
I want to applaud the ECCB for taking this step and leading the way, showing the governments what we can do with the available spaces.
She highlighted the potential for Montserrat, which is currently planning its town to integrate similar solutions in public spaces like car parks, addressing Montserrat's energy challenges.
We are exploring our geothermal potential in order to supply the people of Montserrat with electricity. The energy bill is enormous, and the quality of life of our people is important to us.
The OECS wide initiative signals a decisive shift towards sustainable energy solutions, intending to boost economic resilience and environmental stewardship. Alistair Brooks, lead advisor at the Facility for Renewable Energy with New Zealand in the Caribbean, said,
They've done a fantastic job. It's well engineered, well constructed. It obviously makes sense financially for the bank. And I think they should be proud of what they've achieved, and it's a good example for what can be done for the other nations. Really, it's about trying to manage the cost of power over the long term. Each project will gradually provide a bit more stability in power prices, and if you were running a commercial business, then you can obviously offset your cost of power. The hard part is that impacts your electricity utility, which is also an essential part of your economy. So there's a balance and a trade-off to be found there, and that's taking time, but I think it's coming together. The utilities will need to have a new business model, and I think with a bit of time and support, that'll come.
According to Chamberlain Emmanuel, Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States representative,
ministers have agreed is the OECS Sustainable Energy Green Print, which would be a roadmap for the next decade, 2035, and within that roadmap, a modest regional target of 30% penetration of renewable energy, including solar.
The meeting themed Sustainable Energy, Creating Opportunities for Reinventing the Economy of the OECS, focused on charting a course for economic transformation through sustainable energy initiatives over the next decade.
The fair share of non-tax revenues between St. Kitts and Nevis played a significant role in the formation of the Team Unity administration, but the matter became a major discussion point after the administration began to crumble. To remedy the situation, the new St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party administration sought assistance from the World Bank to decide upon a revenue-sharing arrangement. At his roundtable on February 6, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Drew, declared that recommendations had been received from the World Bank and the Financial Secretary is preparing documentation for the revenue sharing.
We have received from the World Bank recommendations as to how we should share revenues. That has been talked about a lot, fair share. It has never been studied all this time. That is why I keep saying that unity construct, I don't know what it did for Nevis. This was a question that Nevis had, and a federation should have that it should be answered. So we have received that, I have indicated to the Premier in our meeting, and so the FS is helping us to prepare the document so that we can further deal with the issue of the sharing of revenues between St. Kitts and Nevis.
During her discourse with Steve Manners on Your Voice with the NRP on Monday, February 10, 2025, Dr. Patricia Bartlett, Deputy Leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, NRP, raised several points on the tax sharing regime for the Federation. She gave a reminder that the Concerned Citizens Movement, CCM, have consistently disregarded the constitutional provision for revenue sharing.
If we accept that fair share is a mechanism that would have been already prescribed in the Constitution since 1983, we must ask, why is it an issue now in us having to go to the World Bank to work out a mechanism for sharing? But the reality is that CCM has consistently refused to abide by the dictates of the Constitution. And so the provision was already there, and NRP would have respected that mechanism of sharing from since 1983 all the way through until 1992 when they demitted office. Here comes CCM. Since then, they've been showing us their colors. They're greedy. They're very greedy people, and they're selfish and self-absorbed. So what they did, they said, to heck with the Constitution, we're going to do our own thing. Because remember, at that time, Four Seasons was in its heyday, and they were raking in the monies. And so the revenues in Nevis started to bounce up, and they got all excited, but of course they're greedy. So at that point, they decided they stopped with the revenue sharing, and they became lawless from that point going forward, as it relates to anything, any mechanism that would have been put in place then and since then.
Bartlett also accused the Concerned Citizens Movement of ignoring the value-added tax sharing arrangement between St. Kitts and Nevis, highlighting a habitual trend under the CCM.
Same thing with the VAT. NRP would have negotiated a sharing mechanism, with St. Kitts, with the same CATAC, which is the technical arm of the world, the IMF. And it was working, and CCM came back in power in 2013, and what they did? They kicked down that bucket as well. So they're not minded to share.
Dr. Bartlett expressed that the Concerned Citizens Movement contributed to the difficulty that the Federation faces as it relates to revenue sharing.
St. Kitts and Nevis is actively pursuing energy independence in response to ongoing geopolitical issues impacting global markets, energy pricing, and inflation. Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew addressed the nation's vision for a sustainable future during a recent broadcast of the Roundtable.
As you know, St. Kitts and Nevis has declared its vision, which is to develop a sustainable island state. This is the only way we can continue to exist. There is no other possibility or any other way of really surviving well without having a sustainable island state. This is an imperative. Whether people say it or not, it is an imperative. We have to achieve this. This is our only hope to continue to exist as a country. One, because of the environmental impact. Two, for economic viability. So therefore, at the hallmark of it, as I said before, is energy, renewable energy. And so this meeting is looking at ways of reaching solutions with respect to having implementation of renewable energy sources. So this information is directly helping us in our quest. But not only that, we are sharing our experience as well. And all heads coming together in the region is really helping to chart a course, and we are sharing best practices and information and knowledge. So that just that interaction alone is already helping. And so we will see some benefits definitely from that.
The Prime Minister also announced significant progress in renewable energy initiatives.
At this moment, since we are on renewable energy, I can tell you we already have commitment for 50 megawatts of solar energy. And I can say today, maybe for the first time plainly, that we have raised the money to start geothermal. We have the money. I'm going to make a declaration very, very soon. I spoke to the Premier of Nevis. If you look at his page, he posted that he and I met. We met to discuss it.
He emphasized the collaborative approach between St. Kitts and Nevis.
Premier and I, we have met and we have determined, just like the crime situation, this is not going to be a political football. Who in St. Kitts and Nevis want very, very cheap electricity? Nevisians want it, Kittitians want it. So if that's going to make St. Kitts and Nevis better, why should we fight over it? So let us leave the fights for other things, but we're not going to fight over this one. And so we are chatting, we have decided, and I have put my full effort behind it.
The Prime Minister addressed past inaction regarding geothermal energy development in Nevis.
Because I will say, I can never understand how is it CCM was part of a unity construct for 7 years and nothing was done for geothermal in Nevis. Instead of seeking to help Nevis, they started to look to see if St. Kitts had geothermal. Nothing is wrong with that. But why would you abandon Nevis? As if to say, Nevis, we're not helping you on this one. But we want to do two things. Make sure the Nevis resource develop while we look for other sources around. So that, to me, is very strange. 7 years and nothing done to advance Nevis's quest to get energy from geothermal. But in just 2.5 years, I did not sign anything with CCM. I did not sign anything with NRP. But when I came in and I spoke to the Premier, I told him this is going to be a priority for the Federation. And we have raised the money now to move forward with geothermal. First time I am announcing it explicitly. That is tremendous for the Federation. Tremendous. And not because it's a Nevis that I wouldn't work for it. Nevis is our sister island. We are in a federation. Why wouldn't I want to see Nevis going forward? Why would not I want to see that? And we passed a resolution in Parliament that this resource would benefit both Nevis and St. Kitts to create an environment of low-cost energy so that our viability as a federation would improve significantly and continue way into the future. So that has been, in my estimation, a significant accomplishment from all perspectives, a political perspective, a future hope perspective, which will have impacts beyond what we are thinking today. Can you imagine if we declare we have enough energy to be a low energy region? You know how much industries we want to come to St. Kitts and Nevis? We can sell that energy. It's a no-brainer.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister calls for unity and collaboration.
And I really want to ask the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to come together on this and many other issues. Come closer together because we can only do it if we are together. Many regions are trying to come together. Look at Europe. Each country in Europe is bigger than the whole Caribbean put together in land mass, possibly. Well, the Caribbean islands, if you put in Guyana, maybe it's not so. But I'm just simply saying how large they are and the site necessary to come together. And other countries want to join. So if we are a country of 50-something thousand people, why are we thinking that we should not even be closer together? It can't make sense to anybody else outside of the region. Because it's saying for your own viability then, put everything else aside. Work together as a federation. That's how people are going to take you seriously. So we have to save ourselves. We have to work for ourselves.
St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister, the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew. Prime Minister, the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew, in a recent broadcast of the Round Table, discussed St. Kitts and Nevis making significant strides in vocational training to prepare its citizens for a sustainable future. The focus is on renewable energy and ensuring that young people have the skills and job opportunities to contribute to society.
We now are on a path to establish our sustainable island state. The sustainable island state is premised on renewable energy, right? And you ask a critical question. A number of opportunities, job opportunities will come as a result. How are our people going to benefit?
The Prime Minister highlighted several initiatives to upskill the workforce and create pathways for citizens to benefit from the emerging green economy. One key area is training in mechanics to service electrical vehicles or EVs.
That is why we started this program, where the mechanics can be upgraded to deal with EV vehicles. And we'll continue to run the program and bring in more and more. So we are forming a relationship. My office was the office that sponsored the EV vehicles, 3 of them.
In addition to local training, St. Kitts and Nevis is forging international partnerships to provide its citizens with advanced vocational skills.
For example, we have 2 young people who will be going to Germany. The Chamber of Craft is now providing scholarships for vocational training for our people. So those 2 first persons who are going, they are now completing the German language course, where they have to be at the B1 level, and they're almost there. As soon as they're done, they head off to Germany.
The Prime Minister emphasized the benefit of this international training model.
So when they go there, the Chamber of Craft will pay them. They'll actually receive pay while they're being trained. Because it's almost like train and work, train and work.
Furthermore, the Advanced Vocational Education Center AVEC is undergoing a transformation to become a hub of certification courses recognized locally, regionally, and internationally. Dr. Drew highlighted the partnership with the Chamber of Craft.
As you know, we had experts from the Chamber of Craft who came to St. Kitts and Nevis. They were here a few months ago. The first course that they delivered at AVEC is a course in I think it was carpentry and so forth.
The Chamber of Craft has been providing expertise to St. Kitts and Nevis. The government is also exploring collaborations with institutions in the United States, such as Southern University, to expand vocational training opportunities further.
We are exploring the United States. For example, Southern University. We are seeking now to establish a formal link with Southern University. We have a formal link with them where we are sending people to Southern University to study. But they have a vocational school. And so we're going to link their vocational school with our vocational school so that we can have that exchange of knowledge and so forth, so that our people will be able to go over there and become certified, even at the level of the United States, certification level.
Dr. Archibald is facilitating a solar lab at AVEC to support the development of renewable energy skills.
I want to once again thank Dr. Archibald for facilitating a solar lab at AVEC. That solar lab will be used to train our people in solar panel and solar electrical work, so they can become certified as well. So we are going to build our large solar farm. So we want our people to already be trained in order to take up those jobs that we expect.
Dr. Drew envisions a future where AVEC is seen as a valuable pathway to a fulfilling career.
You will not be seen anymore as a place you just go to because you're not good into academics. No, you can actually say, look, I want to take a vocational path. I don't want to take an academic path.
He says this is to ensure that young people take advantage of opportunities.
So that is how we are going to deal to make sure that our people take up the job opportunities by getting them exposure to training, and we are taking the lead on that.
The Joseph and France Multi-Specialty Hospital will be situated on a 15-acre plot in West Farm, St. Kitts, and will feature a blend of new and rehabilitated structures. With an emphasis on sustainability, the new hospital complex will feature 128 beds. The facility's design was revealed during a ceremony at the St. Kitts Marriott Resort on Friday, February 7, 2025. The design promotes a synergy between the structure, green spaces, and efficient logistics. According to Dr. Jensen Morton, Director of Health Institutions, the facility will meet the guidelines of accreditation of international standards and will be a center of excellence.
It will meet standards that will facilitate the best practices for patient care, and is going to meet the guidelines of accreditation for healthcare facilities in Canada, as well as any other healthcare accreditation guidelines. Now, that's very important because without proper accreditation, it messes up quite a few things that you're trying to do with regards to aspects of advancement, and it can even interfere with aspects of development. You'd be surprised how many people nowadays, when booking a trip, they might even not consider going to a place unless they see that international stamp of approval from one of these accreditation networks.
The facility aligns with Prime Minister Terence Drew's mission of combining world-class medical services, teaching and research on site to meet the needs of residents and visitors alike.
When you have a hospital, if you want to get in the field of health tourism, your facilities have to be state-of-the-art. Someone is not going to fly from wherever they are to your country to seek healthcare if they know that they're not going to have top-notch service in top-notch facilities. The two have to be hand in hand. Even though our service has improved and we actually have a good quality of service, some persons, they might look at a facility, look at the kind of greeting they get, look at how the place is, and that alone might be something that makes them decide that they're not going to spend their hard-earned money.
The Joseph and France Multi-Specialty Hospital is envisioned to be one of St. Kitts and Nevis' largest construction projects of the decade, one where, after completion, will see technological innovation meet patient-centered care. The operations will incorporate advanced medical technologies with an atmosphere conducive to healing. The building's architecture was meticulously planned to include renewable energy, green landscapes, noise control, and a general welcoming impression, Morton expressed.
So the entire hospital building is going to be technologically smart and is going to be resilient and able to withstand major natural disasters such as hurricanes and earthquakes. We also had to make it environmentally green, incorporating renewable energy systems inclusive of solar power. And the patients and users, they will have a tranquil environment conducive to healing. So noise from any nearby roadways, as well as the heliport, which I'll get to, it will be mitigated through the use of exterior glazing and other acoustic screening. So we also wanted to make sure that we took advantage of the natural beauty of the location. Even though our hospital right now is nice, there's one pet peeve I have with it, and it's that every time people are leaving the hospital, they always say, this has such a beautiful view. But unfortunately, when you're in the rooms, you can't see any of the view because it wasn't built to take into account the beauty of the place. So I said, we have to make sure that we take advantage of the natural beauty of the nation around us. So every single patient room is going to be on the upper floors of the building, and every room will offer sweeping views either of the ocean or of our mountains, and that can help with the overall calming effect.
The new hospital also seeks to address the challenge of limited space at the existing Joseph and France General Hospital and offer flexible spaces that can adapt to the demands of modern healthcare systems.
The time has come for us to make the next step with regards to the upgrade. The hospital was excellent when it was built, but there were a few challenges that I don't think many people could have predicted that ended up falling upon us. The first would have been an explosion with regards to chronic diseases. That has made the entirety of health outlook and how the type of patients that we have and how we treat them, that changed all of that. We had equally sized, for example, medical and surgical wards, but now the medical ward is always full to capacity just because of the amount of strokes and heart attacks and the amount of people with uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled blood pressure, and the list goes on and on. We suffer a lot from the medical ailments. We also had a drastic increase with regards to our psychiatric population. Our psychiatric ward was built originally to house 12 patients. And when it was built, it was perfect when it opened in 2001. It was perfect. Within 6 years, our mentally ill population exploded. And what was once to house 12 people with abundant space, we had to find ways to now fit 20 people in the space and do all kinds of alterations to the structure.
With the patient experience at the forefront, the Joseph and France Multi-Specialty Hospital has an estimated cost of almost $200 million.
Nevis Reformation Party's Dr. Patricia Bartlett is advocating for a study to better understand the factors contributing to reckless driving on the nation's roadways. Over the past several months, the Federation has witnessed an alarming rise in erratic driving, leading to tragic accidents, including one that claimed the life of a 4-month-old baby. Speaking with WINN FM, Dr. Bartlett emphasized the need for comprehensive research to address the root causes of the dangerous driving.
I like studies to inform my decisions. And so I don't know exactly what it is going on because I am myself baffled because it is just within recent times that we've been having these spate of accidents. And so I've called, for us to do a study so that we can understand because sometimes you put all these things in place. It's like you're going to penalize people for this or penalize them for that. And at the end of the day, it may not really be as impactful as you would like.
Recently, the government introduced legislation in Parliament to increase penalties for those found guilty of causing death by dangerous driving. Attorney General Garrett Wilkin.
I've always said that we need to do more in St. Kitts and Nevis for road safety. And unfortunately, it has taken us to have our own tragedies to respond. But respond we will.
Dr. Bartlett expressed her support for the government's efforts to impose tougher penalties, stressing that a study would provide valuable insights to inform further action on road safety.
What is causing us to have these accidents? Is it that people don't, have the requisite experience on the road? Is it that the driving test doesn't really fully assess us, our competence level? I don't know what it is, but I think we need a study to understand why is it we are having these accidents in the first instance. The penalties, I can live with the penalties. You increase the penalties, is it going to really affect the behavior of people on the road? I don't know. Is it a certain class of people who are more involved in these accidents? So like I said, I like my decisions to be based on science. So find out what the issue is, why we're getting into these accidents, and then we can fix it.
You were listening to the Weekend Review here on WINN FM 98.9. Thank you for listening and have a productive week.